That's a good song. To do my best, call me Trim Tap. Hello, 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 people. Good morning, evening, afternoon, peeps. What's up, what's up? How you guys all doing? Nim, Nyinesburn, Kaylin, Saints Flow, and everyone else lurking in the chat. How you guys doing today? Blah. Hope you guys all doing good.
Chanex Chanai. Chiki Shiki Ban Banai. Chiki Shiki Chon Chon Nei. Chiki Shiki Ban Banai. Shuki Shuki Shuka Ban Ban Hai Shiki Shiki Ban Banai. Chiki Shiki Chon Chon Nei. Chiki Shiki Ban Banai. Shuki Shuki. Hashtag Radloverstrap. Hashtag Savastolfo. Gasm.
Good morning to you too, Lucas. What a way to enter. What a way. What a jam. Well, I get the reference though. Thank you. What's up? How you guys doing, chat? How y'all doing today? Oh, hold up. The alert's bugged again.
I'm vibing between two lanterns.
Oh, sorry. There's a bug. Vibing between two lanterns? What does that mean? So many cooks. Grace, dancing ever and lastly, Gaia ascends to reign. I have a fucking earworm since your last stream, huh? He doesn't know. I don't know. What does it mean? I don't get it. Song stuck in my head. Yes, sir. Welcome to the Cheeky Cheeky Bam Bam. You will listen to it for the rest of your life, which is good. You should end up calling dad. Look at the time. Time for me to draw something. Where did I put my thing? Hmm. Okay, I want to draw something different today. So, what should I showcase? I don't know. I'm gonna showcase a Stolfo, I guess. Had to get a few sleeps. Yeah, why, Rat? Yeah, I wonder why. Stuff's happen. Oh boy. I am not touching my bed again on the day one of D&D. No way. Never. Never again. Huh? It is what it is. I'm actually surprised though that hold up. So loud. I'm actually surprised though that I slept through all the calls and all the alarms. I slept like a fucking stone. That never happened to me before. And then, surprise, surprise, I woke up with a slight fever after that session. So now I'm a little bit warm. So yeah, apparently I got sick without me noticing. But I'm not even surprised because yesterday I was actually out. Like yesterday, like no, yesterday, yeah. Yesterday during the daytime, uh, I went to gathering stuff like that, and it was raining almost the whole day. And as a dedicated driver guy, I have to go to the parking lot and all that kind of stuff. And I may or may not get wet, not in the way you're thinking, like literally wet from the rain, you know? Okay, so let's get that straight. As probably, yeah. But you know, we good, we chillin'. I think I'm getting. I think it's not that heavy. It's not like I cannot do anything, but I definitely owe myself some long ass sleep. That's probably why I slept like a stone. Dude, I really hate it when I sleep and I cannot. Nothing can wake me up other than fucking get shaken. It's so fucking scary, dude. If that happens, it's like if I live alone, the only thing that can wakes me up is a fucking earthquake or something. I hate it when that happens. I don't know what you're thinking, Lucas. I don't know what I should think. Okay, how about not thinking about it? Alright? But no, we're chilling. We're chilling. It's probably just. My body's probably just exhausted. But we chillio now. We chillio. Probably gonna get extra sleep this week or something. I hate sleeping, dude. How can I not think about it now? Boy. Boy, boy, yeah. But how you guys doing? How's your week been, chat? Any special occasion or just like the usual? You know? You owe me 90 minutes of my life, Red. I will not forget. What do you want? Of course, I'd go back. What do you want? Had a great hunt day yesterday. Not that common, to be honest. That's cool. That's cool. I don't know about the performance of Rat, sadly. Performance? What? What performance? Hmm. Uh, you mean more like 90-second? Oh, okay. Sexual joke. Hey. Listen, I can last more than that, alright? Dependings. I'm just saying. Although I can last less than that. Like I said, dependings. What up, Donk? Lamonting goalie Astolfo. Oh my god. How you doing, dude? Depending of the size of the trap. Doesn't have to be a trap. Alright. That's not the deciding factor. Let's just say that. But I'm not gonna say anything anymore. 'Cause I'm not gonna expose myself. Hello. It was. Oh my god, dude. Listen, I don't have a lot of restriction. All right, let's just say that. I'm I I can you know, yeah, I don't have a lot of restriction. Let's keep it at that. How about that? I'm pretty sure you get the idea. It's not like not a lot of people already know about it, but I tend to not talk about it. That's all. Because it's just not you know what I mean. Thankfully, I was pretty explorer, explorative. What was the word? Explorative. And I don't know what's the word in English, but not really restricting myself. Mhm.
Mr. Trap, please give best month ever a look, it seems right up your alley. Also, Shredders, Ikai, Whisper Trip, Road 96, Winter Ember and Sniper Contracts 2's Complete Edition are finally out. Or Music Racer. Damn hipster nopas.
Why is there so many? Jesus Christ. Are those okay? Shredders. I think I'm gonna skip. I saw the gameplay and I saw the reviews. I think it's not really good. It's not worth it to give it a try. Ikai, sure. On the next Spoopy Saturday. Whisper Trip, I have no idea what that is. Link me again later. Reg Andy. Road 96 looks okay, dude. I don't know if I want to try it out, but we'll see. I have the game anyway on uh thingy. Winter Ember. Who? Sniper Contracts. Is Sniper Contracts games actually a good game? Every time I see the gameplay, it looks boring. I'm sorry, but I might just not looking at the right perspective. I don't know. Maybe if there's someone who have experience with those games here. Any reviews? Yeah, it's a bunch of indie games, okay, that we found past couple weeks now. I think back then we found it during some fucking trailer announcement. I was like, ooh. I would just wish list a bunch of it, and I guess since remember. But yeah, some of them, after we saw the gameplay, it looks like like Shredders. I feel like might as well play Snow. I know that Ubisoft game. It looks more appealing for some fucking reason. This could be the end of everything. So why don't we go somewhere else? Somewhere only us. I don't need somewhere only we know. Buttsoft? Go. Oh!
Radulolo, 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 Radulolo.
Okay, of course. Fucking TTS. Beards Boo with a 2 months back to back Twitch Prime. Oh my god. Which is free, by the way. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, man. For the 2 months Twitch Prime sub. Thank you. Much love. How you doing? What's up? And welcome to the stream. What's up? The fucking TTS caught me off guard though. Back to back Astolfo back. Strawberry had renaming. Oh, okay. I was like, wait, who are you again? But it's a 2 months. Oh shit. I remember the name. Oh, it's Strawberry. Okay, what's up? What's with the renaming? Interesting name. Beards Boo. Beards Boo. SSBU Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Oh, okay. I see. Got a Super Smash Bros. Players here. I don't play Smash Bros, so I don't know much about it, other than I watch some peeps play it. But that's it. Like if I play it, I probably sucks ass at it. Gotta be honest. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But yeah, how you doing? Beards? Oh, beard. Oh my god. Also, once in, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Boom, boom, boom. Hmm. A huge fucking carpenter bee kept crashing through my window. What the fuck, man? Hey, be nice. Not good by any means. I just play it and try to have fun and stream. Hell yeah, dude. You hope you get better soon, man. But hey, thanks for stopping by. And the fucking Twitch Prime sub. Twitch Prime sub. Bleh. English. What up, Chingo? How you doing? Hmm. Pow, 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 pow. Jing. Pow, 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 pow. Hmm. The cooks. So many cooks in the chat. Oh my god. Ah, fuck. I open up Twitter and randomly see this image. What the fuck? What the the fuck, man? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Cat is dummy thick, ass go past gravity.
True. Looking for some references. Mm. Can seem to find it. Each step you take. Mm-hmm. All right. It's gonna be me after a year of Karen cheesecake. Belly, belly. Shoulder. Oh god. Good for a cheesecake. Right now, you should give +5 happiness for the day. Give -15 health for the day. I'm lactose intolerant. Listen, Beard. Uh, my favorite drink of all time is a cafe latte, which is a coffee, you know, fuck, with a cup of milk, and I'm also lactose intolerant. But does it stop me? Fuck no. I just deal with it because it's fucking delicious. Oh boy, I don't know, man. Sometimes you just gotta go through the pain because it's just so fucking good. Cheese, milk, I cannot live without them. I really cannot. Or yeah, you can just go for an oat option, the alternative milk stuff. I can't care about the talk about me, talk about me and you. Lactose free milk is whack. Exactly! Thank you! Exactly! And that's why I don't give a shit. I keep ordering the fucking dairies. Again, I'm not even getting in the way of people who prefer almond or soy milk, but I don't know, man. Cannot. It's just different. Gonna be honest. You also cannot live with the ass tofu. Okay. Goat and sheep cheese are good though. Uh, those are not that common here, unfortunately, in my region. But the usually the alternative here are almond, soy, or I forgot the other one. But goes goat, sheep, those stuff, milk or cheese are like rare because they're not as common here, unfortunately. But you can find it. Usually it's super expensive or just like special events. Talking about the life in Southeast Asia. Right, for real, you gotta try chocolate cashew milk. Chocolate cashew milk. I don't know where can I get that. That's a problem. Mm. Oh god, it's in the playlist. Let's go. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ah, chiki chiki bam bam. Mm, 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 mm. Mhm. Chan aki chiki bam bam. Mhm. Bang. Mm. Mm. Bum, 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 bum. Boing. Should learn to dance. That's a plan. I mean, I kind of get the gist of it. Just need to perfect it. I even remember it since I watched the video so many times now. God. Mm. Mm, mm, mm. I'm down, I'm down. Hmm. Okay, I think this needs to be lower. Oh, wow. Such thing. Uh, oh my god. Hope you all have a good day. I'm yet to nap. You to nap. I'm dead. Alright, Kay. Have a good sleep. I'll see you around. Right trap page. Trying to figure out something for her. I just can't find the right position for it. That doesn't look right. Okay, I'm dumb. I figured it out. Mm-hmm. How do you? Oh my god, I forgot how to do fucking clothes. Help! It's definitely wrong. Mm, 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 mm. Mm-hmm. Eh, hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Okay, this song's a little bit too chill. What should we listen to, chat? We need something a little bit jammy, but not too jammy. Brr, brr. Okay, we gotta go with patterns again. I don't know what to listen to. Lisa Calafina. No, I need something a little bit more gritty right now because I'm drawing some cool stuff. Why you gotta do this to me? Ooh, why you gotta do this to me? Hey, what's up, Zay? My sexy lesbian? Oh, what? How you doing, man? Open. Hold up. There we go. Why you gotta do this to me? Oh, why you gotta do this to me? Why you gotta do this to me? Oh, why you gotta let me on the door? Does that looks awkward? Dude, I feel like everything I do here is kind of awkward looking. On the door. I think I need to raise the shoulder a little bit higher, so it makes sense. On the door. I'm gonna drop down. There we go. Okay, we're getting somewhere. It's really hard to draw like a very intimidating pose when I always draw so smuggy. Okay. We connect the fucking back with the shoulder. So it looks like, there we go. God damn, she got a big gun. It's kind of funny that I put Sofo here as a showcase. He's such a feminine character, and then right now I'm drawing such a badass looking girl. Such a contrast. Oh my god. The fuck, man. Sorry. Sorry. Dude, my throat's dying. Okay, that hurts. Oh shit. Um. Shouldn't probably do that. I feel I cannot draw this right now. Man! Looks so. It doesn't look bad, but it just looks wrong in some way. But I can't figure it out what it is. So frustrating. Mm, there's just confusion. Hmm. Is this love? Okay, I think I need to change the eyes a little bit. Hmm. Is this love? Is love? Mm-hmm. Okay, that looks more natural, I think. Kinda. This angle is so weird. Shit! Is this love? Just confusion. Hmm. I'm gonna keep at it for now. She looks more sinister now compared to this. I feel like there's too much. Okay. Wait. Maybe I don't have to see it. Mm-hmm. Ha, 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 ha. How to draw? Hello, I forgot how to draw. Bl- Okay, wait, that looks badass. Da-da-da-da-da. And then okay, dude. Let's go. Okay, I like that. Oh, oh, that looks so cool. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. All right, what is this songs? Come on. Uh, God damn it. Let's go back to the fucking anime soundtracks. Paingasm. Cheeky, cheeky, cheeky. When in doubt, go back to this. Cannot go wrong with this song. Bachan, chiki chiki bam bam. It needs to be longer. Holy shit, dude, that song. I cannot get enough of it. Oh, the transition. Way too short, right? Mm-hmm. This is a jammer. Mm. Okay, I got some ideas. Okay. Mirror gym, selfie. Yeah. Oh, this is perfect, dude. This song. Really wish how to draw a hand holding. I really know how to draw a hand holding a cola nor a beer because it's hard to me though. Easiest way to do that is using a reference. Because, you can just take a picture of yourself holding a beer or a jug, just a glass. Use that as a reference and draw over that. Well, not over that. Like, look at it and, you know, it's the best way. I'm also using reference right now with this drawing. Ah, good old time. Don't be afraid to use reference, chat. Art imitates life, remember? This song is too cute. Uh, yeah, I'm having such an art block right now. Can I draw fucking clothes for fuck's sake? You know what? I guess what makes more sense here is a crop top. But that's too much. I feel like a crop top in this drawing is way too much. I'm gonna go to bed now and try to calm my mind. I've been pushed over myself so much I need to sleep while I enjoy the stream. Alright, Chigo. Thank you for stopping by. Have a good sleep, man. Take care. Ah. Holy shit. That voice though. Hmm. Wow. 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 Shit, I'm already hungry. That's fast. Oh my god. Sorry. Bam, 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 bam. Whoa. What is this song? Ooh. Pretty. Hey, what's up, Payne? How you doing? Got killed by a few days. I don't know what to do. Whoa, what the fuck, dude? Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Salamatari Raya Bigalpe Udara 77,777,777,777,777. Cock.
Selamat Hari Raya to you too. What's up? What's up? Hope you are. I guess you're celebrating. Hope you're having a good. I don't know what's the word for it. Celebration. Something like that. What's the word? It's just like Selamat Hari Raya. I guess. Yeah. I never really say that to friends internationally in English, so the more you know. The more you know. So what you been up to? What you guys been up to? What you guys been up to? I'm assuming. Okay, the songs are so fucking wholesome. I cannot. All right, we gotta change the playlist a little bit. This playlists are way too wholesome for me right now. Way too wholesome. Oh shit, Etheria stuff. I'm assuming it's a holiday for most of you guys, even though you guys don't celebrate. Right? Been chilling grandma's house on the first day in the same old, same old. Probably gonna visit some friends for a party. That's cool. Hopefully, if you know the COVID stuff is kind of chilly over there. But other than that, keep at it. All right, stay healthy. Take care of yourself. I chat. Stay healthy. I don't know about you guys in your area, but in my region, it's been going aight now. It's definitely better than before, but I'm still taking precautions and everything. You know, doesn't mean like I'm stop the fucking procedures and everything, right? So keep those hands clean. Wash your hands every time you're about to touch some pussy. I mean things, huh? Either way, you have to clean those hands either way. All right? Hell yeah, hell yeah. Including entering this chat. All right, before you enter this chat, you gotta wash your hands. It's mandatory. All right, chat. I see you. If you haven't wash your fucking hand, I fucking see you, mods. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We already can go outside with no mask. Oh shit! What the fuck? That's cool. That's good then. That's good. In here, I mean, most of us already got vax as well. But there's still some people who does not want it. So the mask thingy is still on. You still have to wear it, especially if you're going to public and stuff. So yeah, not a lot of people just want to cooperate. So the mask thingy, I think it's gonna be a thing for quite a long time. If anything, I feel like some people are just gonna keep wearing it from now on. It's like wearing a helmet if when you're riding a bike type of shit. At this point, you have to wear a mask, or at least majority gonna wear a mask if they go out from now on. But why not? But why? We're not touching a sofa anyways. We only have masks in supermarket with food and transport here. Ah. For me, going out, you still kind of, most of the time, yeah, you have to. Like, people, I think not anymore right now, but like a couple months ago, if you're riding a car, driving a car, riding a bike, you gotta wear a mask or you're gonna get stopped by the fucking police officers if they saw you. Like, whoa, what the fuck, man? You're not wearing mask? Nani? And then they gotta pay a certain amount as a penalty. But it's not anymore. It's not like that anymore. When you're in a car, yeah. This is like when it was a little bit more. The numbers still up high. If I lose it all, it's fucking fall. To be fair, the suspecting thing is that you kind of hang out with your friends. So when you're riding a car, especially with more people in the car, or someone's in the shotgun seat as well, or like five people in a car and stuff like that, you gotta wear masks and shit. Now, not anymore. It's just that when you go to a crowded place or public places, that's a must. But the penalty is not as strict anymore as it was a couple days ago. Babe. But yeah. But overall, I think it's pretty good already here. It's not as bad as it was. But there's still some people by the daily get sick from COVID. And yeah, kind of shucks. So, it's not completely gone. So precautious, you know. Stay healthy. Wash your hands and shit like that, shit. If I lose it all, slip and fall. If I lose it all, lose it all, lose it all. If I lose it all, another day. Bam, bam, bam. Rumbling, rumbling. Ba-da-da-da. If I lose it all, slip and fall. Is it? No, no. I'm good with that one. What the fuck's already 2 hours? Damn. Chat, what should we play today, chat? What game should we play today? I'm not too sure, I'm gonna be honest. Too sure. Oh my god. I randomly hum Bad Apple. Mandatory. Metal Gear Rising, Neo going under, your mom. Oh my god, a jabber, dude! I miss this song. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. Ding, 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 ding. Woo! I don't think this is the original. It's actually it is. It might be. I forgot. Sifu, I'm honestly already over with it right now. It was fun while it lasted. You know. Okay, hold up. Bow, 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 bow. Oh! Okay, it's not a classic. Goddamn. Oh, what you know? Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Oh, sorry. You made to hit you guys. no kakai kanoa, kimi ga no kana, shino kana. Mata, Hawaii and there. Bishi e ate. Moto moto yabukale. Sorry. Moto no kimochi dake. Atarashi. Oh. Nakayu desho. Naru no omaitai no. Toto no to oshiete. Tarashi sekai no. Ashite. Akia. Moto no moto mache shiteru. Ah ah. Wa 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 wa. I kind of want to make the see-through effects here, but I never done it before, so I don't know how to do it. Um. Ah. How? How do we do it? Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Close exposition, bro. Ba 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 ba. Don't Clip Studio have those tips? Where? Like their article and stuff? I don't read them. Unfortunately. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-dum. It decreases a bit of the transparency. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now with this. But it doesn't look that convincing. That's the thing. There's got to be a better way to do it. I feel like I gotta do it with colors. I cannot do it with sketches. Let me try something real quick. See if it works. First, obviously, skin color. Let's just do this real quick just to test it out. I guess I'm gonna draw through her cloth as well. And maybe the shading effects will look more realistic or believable. I don't know. Trial and errors. Let's just give it a go. Let's see what's up. She's kind of skinny, but muscle is big. This one's just like, it's not that good of a, it's not that accurate. I sometimes, whenever I draw muscle, I draw a little bit way too big that it should be. And this is definitely bigger than it should be. But I'll fix it some other time, as at least it's done for a bit. Okay, so Gonna overlap it with shading on 70. Let's do 70. I think I need to do for the shirt as well. Muscles. Okay, let's just keep it at that. Now let's add like very low shades of gray, almost white for the cloth. Okay, maybe it should be a little bit darker. That looks so fucking wrong. Okay, there we go. Looks more believable. It's like dark blue. Muscles. Is this? Oh, Unison. Jammer. Uh, Let me try to use a lower thingy. So, okay. Yeah, right hand, I'm too lazy to draw it. Give me a second. I'll draw it, I'll draw it. Onegai choose me. Onegai choose me. Okay, fine. I'll draw it. Guy choose. Maybe the line's too bold for shading. I mean, I choose me. I choose. Oh god, this song again. This song's been haunting my fucking dream. It's everywhere. No. Ah, fuck. Jesus Christ. Hmm. I guess it makes sense to make her a bit more pale. Boom. Hmm. Oh shit! Gemmers. should probably draw her hair properly before I color this shit. Fuck. Beep beep boom beep 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 boom beep boom. This song. Oh no. Oh no, I remember. Puru 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 rin. I forgot who recommended this. Shit. Puru-ri-n, puru-puru-ri-n. I love this song. Ooh! Mm, 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 mm. Hey! Hey! Oh shit. Oh, I remember. Pururin. Pururin. Puru puru pururin. Puru puru pururin. Pururin. Puru puru pururin. Oh shit. Oh fuck, I forgot about this song. God bless this playlist. Ah. Shut the fuck up, Chert. The Jammers. Holy shit. Henshin. I fucking love this song, dude. Oh shit. Oh my god, I'm crying. Put it in, Pururin, puru puru pururin. Puru puru pururin. Pururin, puru puru pururin. Hey! Pururin, puru puru pururin. 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 Oh my god, I fucking love that song. Let's go! Oh shit, again? Oh, is this a remix? Ah, it's the OG. Oh my god, we looped the playlist. What's other Weep songs that's really popular? Like Bad Apple popular tier. Let me shuffle my playlist. No. Oh, Kara Kara Bonito. Oh, it's wholesome. Happy birthday to every cheer. They're gonna throw a party another day. Oh yeah, and I should take a walk for a bit. This one's a good one, right, chat? 2019 Rat Trap Giga Chat 2020. No, I've always been listening to those stuff. I just listen to a lot of genre. So it's really hard to find what my favorite genre is for you guys. What do you guys think is my favorite genre? I want to know. I'm pretty sure it's pretty obvious. I mean, come on.
Shampoo.
Oh!
Polo polo.
Jesus fucking Christ. Gara with a 31 months. Sheesh. 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 Putangina mo. Okay. Thank you so much for the 31 months. Appreciate it. Much love. How you doing? Yowie. Okay. Music. Music genre, you motherfucker. Music. Gago. Don't blame me. I've been watching Millie. All right, shut the fuck up. I tried to sleep, slept for 2 hours. Now I'm wide as fuck. Awake as fuck. Wide as fuck. White people happy. We vibe. Oh! Oh, this is Jammer. Come on, does anyone not can figure out what's my favorite genre is? And no, it's not Sad Boy Hours type of song, no. There's two. There's two genre that's completely different, but I always happy to listen to them. Working through your worst night. If I get my money right, And I tell you, hey, fucking no, I'm fucked up. Spending on a get that keep you. Can nobody reach you? Hey, did you call me from Seance? You're from a past life. Hope you're doing well, bruh. Always like the head first. Oh, hope you're doing well, bruh. Everybody needs you. Everybody needs you. Ooh, nani nani. This feel like a quaalude. Metal, rock, since you sang for one in the olden days. Ooh, that's true. That's true. But it's not specific enough. Not specific enough. My favorite genre is a subgenre. But rock, okay, I'll give you a hint. Rock and metal have both of this subgenre. They sound the same, but the only difference is that one of them is metal and one of them is rock. But both of them have this subgenre. I think it's a little bit too hard. Okay, he figured it out. Shit. Okay. Yeah, that's right. 100 points to Gryffindor. Progressive, rock, or metal. Woo! I know it's probably not that obvious. I'm from Hufflepuff. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Hufflepuff's in the chat. I love you. Very obvious. Yeah. Did that guitar game you played mostly had Muse songs? Guitar game? Oh, Rocksmith? Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Dude, I mean, come on, listen to this. Like this kind of guitar turns me on. Wait, what? Wait. Ooh. Oh, god damn. I mean, oh, come on, dude. Ah, so good. Are you Slytherin, Rad, from your joke? I took the test once. I got Gryffindor, which is, it's whatever. Good old Gryffindor. I don't think I can fit with Slytherin. I'm Filipino. Most people in my family is a fucking snake, including me. That one's got me. Pretty good. Shit, you mentioned Muse now. I want to play some Muse song. Hold up. They have one of the best progressive rock. A little bit more on the pop side recently, but their old album were like asphyxiated. Tess said I'm Slytherin, then Puff. I mean, obviously, the tests, if you do the test multiple times, definitely got to change a lot here and there. And you will be the death of me. Bury it. I won't let you bury it. I won't let
Who should not
you.
be named. That's probably my mother.
And our time is running out. You can't push it underground. Fuck, this makes me want to grab my guitar. I want to free them. Fuck DMCA, man. Honestly. Now that you know I'm trapped since ovulation. If not because of DMCA, we would have get like a good Rocksmith sequel by now. I mean, we did, but it's fucking trash. Won't let you bury it. I won't let you smother it. I won't let you mother it. Grab this! I can't push it underground. You can't stop it streaming out. How did it come to this? A Peppy Jam. Live out of me, bury it. I won't let you bury it. The I won't let you murder it. Our time is. Honestly, is there a game out there other than Rocksmith, Ubisoft Rocksmith, that allows you to play the game with an actual guitar? Because I swear to God, we don't have a lot of that, man. Like, what the fuck? It's so fucking weird. It's criminally underrated. Musicians like to play games as well, man. And I'm not talking about Guitar Hero, it's different. Ah! Sorry. This is the intro of the song. Yeah, I know. It's Muse. Hello, Sudo. How you doing? Hold up. Oh, one of the best song of all time. Ah, 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 yeah. Ah, yeah. Ah, Nani? Okay. The fuck? What are you guys talking about? Jesus Christ. I'm Friday for the brave and mystery. Show you the trap, and how can we win? The truth can't be killed. Don't waste your time, or time will waste you. Ow, 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 Oh my god, dude. That's some delicious riff. One's gonna take me alive. Time was come to make things right. Must fight for a right. Holy shit. Me alive.
Oh! Schnipp, schnapp! Ah! Ah! Da! Ja!
Jenny!
Bye.
Pomai? Huh? Jenny with the race up of a 13 months! Oh shit! Thank you so much. I mean 14 months. The 13 month streak. God damn. Back to back to back to back to back. Yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you, appreciate it. Much love. How you doing? Take me alive. Time was come to make things right. You and I must fight for a right. You and I must fight to survive. Like this would make more sense. Oh my god. No one's gonna take me alive. Oh my god, bro. It's not quite done yet, but there's not much I can do. You know how I feel. You know how I feel. Thinking all night. You know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling. You know how I feel. You know how I feel. For some day, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling. Woo! Don't even. Red Tribe Bot is a legend? Wait, what happened? Is he acting up in Discord? You see. Oh my god! Mate! What time is this? Oh my god. Whatever, dude. Sorry. Tips in the Discord. It's okay, it's like a second alert. For pips that missed the first alert. I think that's fair. Oh boy, such a good song. Just being you, true, real and true. Speed. Mm. Oh. Mod spam. Mods, Ben mods. Dang it. Dude, I want to play this song so bad right now. Fuck. I want to grab my guitar so bad. Hello. What up, Una-chan? How you doing? To erase whatever they say. This people are torn, wild and bereft. Assassin is born, yeah. Whoa.
Shampoo.
Oh!
Shampoo.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Sudo! With a gifted sub to Una34Chan. God damn. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Much love. And Una-chan, enjoy this gifted, the sub emotes. Thank you. Retrap H for Sudo. Thank you. Much love. Digga-digga-ding. What can we run? To erase whatever they say. Sin in the throne. What can we listen is born? Oh, I got a call.